Tonight's broadcast is presented by Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate it. I know we're early, but I wanted to get on and talk about this Braves versus Dodgers series that we just got done with. Of course, a very up and down series, but here we are. The Braves split it 2-2. They win game one, they win game two. You think, well, we're in prime position to win this series, and then the Dodgers, of course, put up 5 runs in the ninth in game 3 to take that dub, and then in game 4, they blow the Braves out 9-4. So let's take this one step at a time. Let's start with game 1. First off, Spencer Schwellenbach against a postseason contender, someone the Braves could meet in the postseason, a team that we've met plenty of times before in the playoffs, and the rookie Spencer Schwellenbach showed up. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. You can't ask for much more out of a rookie arm in the opening game of a 4-game set with the Los Angeles Dodgers. In game 2, you had Chris Sale on the mound, and Chris Sale at this point I think is not necessarily a shoo-in for the Cy Young Award, but he's definitely the top contender for the National League Cy Young Award. He had a Cy Young style night. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. And of course, Charlie Morton looked good in his outing as well in game 3. Even though the Braves lost, he kept it competitive. He only gave up 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched. Max Fried, not so much. He gave up 3 runs across 6 innings. Didn't let it get too out of hand, but the bullpen did. Both Aaron Bummer and Daysbel Hernandez both gave up 3 earned runs in their time against the Dodgers in game 4 of this series. So it is what it is. The Dodgers series is over, and I would say at this point, looking ahead in the schedule, that's about as tough as this schedule is going to get. The Braves split the series, but now you go to face Cincinnati, then you face Miami, and you only have a short time left to really be in contention for a postseason spot, right? The time for getting to the postseason and finding your spot there is getting slim to none, right? You're in a 4-man race, really. You got to. Right now, we're behind the Mets. We're a game back of the Mets. The Diamondbacks aren't too far out of reach. So the Braves really find themselves in a prime position to take it over if the offense can be consistent. Because I said the other night on this channel that the Braves were going to be fine starting pitching-wise, right? If they make it to the playoffs, if they advance in a series in the playoffs, it's going to be on the backs of the starting pitching, in my opinion. Chris Sale has been too good. Max Fried, you got to trust him in the playoff situation. Charlie Morton is kind of getting in his groove, and it's coming to postseason time. We know what he does in the playoffs as well. So for me, and then you on the back end, hopefully you have Reynaldo back, but you have Spencer Schwellenbach, who's been really good so far too. So for me, and where we stand right now, if the Braves are going to be successful in 2024, whether that be make the playoffs, whether that be make it to a division series, whether it be make it to a World Series, whatever it may be, it's going to be on the back of the starting pitching. And I know there's folks out there that are going to say, well, Tyler, after this year, do you really think the Braves have a chance at winning the World Series? Here's what I would say to that, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. If the Braves make it to a wild card series, they have a chance of making it to the World Series. If they don't make it to a wild card series, obviously they don't. I think it's really going to depend over what happens over the next couple of weeks, right? Every game going forward matters to the nth degree, right? You're in that 4-man race for a wild card spot, and whatever happens in the playoffs, none of it can happen unless you get the wild card spot, obviously. But you get Ozzie Albies back, right? We're going to talk about that here in the next block. You get Austin Riley back. Things are going to start shifting for the better, right? Now, I know the bullpen has been hit or miss here lately, but at the end of the day, the starting pitching has been too good. And you get a small sample size. You get a 3-game set in the wild card series. Go ahead and give me Sale, give me Fried, give me Morton. I'll take my chances. I feel really good about a 3-game set with the Braves this year because we aren't dependent on the long ball as much. We are battle-tested to some degree. The Braves have been able to navigate an amount of injuries that is, for any other team, I would argue is insurmountable. And here we are. We're vying for a playoff spot. It's going to be interesting. But this series with the Dodgers, this shows you how the Braves match up with a postseason threat, right? That's why we're talking about it. We know who the Dodgers are. They're a team who any given year is definitely going to make the playoffs, and any given year has a chance of winning the World Series, at least for the past decade plus. So for now, you've seen what the Braves match up with. You've seen how they match up against a legit postseason contender, and they split the series. I would argue they could have won Game 3. Game 4, I don't want to talk about it, but the first 3 games of this series, they won 2. They arguably should have won Game 3. So I really think that the testament is there to put the Braves in contention here to not only win one series in the playoffs, but you get on a roll at the right time, and considering who they're playing over the next few weeks, anything is possible. So in terms of do I think it's possible? Yeah, I do think it's a World Series. It's still in the realm of conversation. I do think that is the case. The starting pitching has been too good, and in the playoffs, starting pitching matters. The Phillies proved that last year. The Diamondbacks proved that. You don't have to have the best offense to win a World Series or to even get to a World Series. You don't have to have the best offense. Pitching is amplified. Now, if there is a concern there, the bullpen is it. You got guys like Daysbel Hernandez, guys like Aaron Bummer, who you don't really trust in a high-leverage situation. And, of course, Raisel Iglesias is human. We saw that against the Dodgers. So anything can happen. Do I feel great about the chances? I don't feel as good as I did on opening day. But I definitely feel like the team is more battle-tested than they were on opening day. I think this team has grown closer. I think this team has really changed in dynamics, not because they wanted to, but obviously because they had to. And you find yourself now in a situation where no matter what happens, if the Braves make the playoffs, I think we all feel pretty good about this season. All things considered, if we're honest. Obviously, we all want to win a World Series. But with the amount of injuries from opening day on that this team has navigated through and really gotten accustomed to. I mean, because if somebody doesn't get hurt on any given day, we're counting our blessings. The fact that this team has been able to navigate through all of that, and yet here they are with a chance to make the playoffs, I think whatever happens in terms of whether we make the playoffs, in terms of whether we make it to the National League Championship Series, in terms of we make it to a World Series or even win it, no matter what happens, I think we're going to be thrilled of what this team has accomplished so far this year. Now, that said, let's hope they make it to the playoffs, and let's hope that they do ultimately win the World Series. Guys, we are, of course, live here from the Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC showroom. We've been here before. We're excited to be here again. And, again, thank you for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your consistent support of the channel. But it goes without saying that we cannot do this without our friends here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika. Again, thrilled to be here, thrilled to be a part of this, and happy to have all of you here as well. When we get back, we are going to talk about Ozzie Albies, his return, what's going into it, and what it's going to take to get him back right, and what kind of impact could he have on the lineup, the defense, pretty much all of it. That's when we get back.
Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC offers popular full-size trucks with a legacy of strength and durability. Side by side, the new Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s discounted up to $13,000 off. Or big, heavy-duty Chevy and GMC 2500s discounted up to $8,000 off. Rugged durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect truck today at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC's showroom for, of course, another stream of On Deck, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. Number one, I think the biggest news on the day, I kind of buried the lead here, was that Ozzie Albies is starting his rehab stint in Gwinett tonight. This will be a short stint. He is expected to join the team as early as Friday in Miami. That is the tentative plan. We will see how it goes. Now, one interesting piece here is that Ozzie Albies is feeling discomfort in his left-handed swing. Not in his right-handed swing, only his left-handed swing. So for the foreseeable future anyway, he will only be a right-handed hitter. And while that may sound like a disadvantage, I do want to say that I have been on here before saying that I would like to see Ozzie Albies just try one time for one season. Give me right-handed Ozzie Albies, not switch hitter Ozzie Albies. Give me right-handed Ozzie Albies. And I'm sure some of you out there are like, why? We've seen other players shift to that, right? Cedric Mullins is a good example where he stopped switch hitting and just focused on the one side where he had more power and where he had more control, and he turned out to be an all-star that year. And I think Ozzie Albies, he's already an all-star as is. I think Ozzie Albies could find himself being a great right-handed hitter. His left-handed swing is good. It's kind of slow to the fastball, and I think if you put him as a purely right-handed hitter, I'll take my chances against a right-handed pitcher in that case. The fact that he's back is a big deal. I think the defense is going to improve. All due respect to Whit Merrifield, we're going to talk about him in a second. But I think your defense is going to improve naturally because you are getting an all-star caliber player back. And beyond that, Ozzie Albies, you're getting a guy who sets the culture. And I've done a video before purely on Ozzie Albies' impact in the clubhouse and what it brings to the team, their win-loss record with or without him. And it's a staggering difference. So I think personally just having him back is going to be nice, but his impact in the lineup is going to be felt as well. You're going to see him extend the top of the order and really make it give some guys some protection. I think Olsen is going to feel some of that. I think Ozuna will feel some of that. We've seen Ozuna drop off. I'm not going to say it's because Ozzie Albies wasn't in the lineup, but the time fits. And I think having him back is really going to be just good for the team, good for the mojo, good for the lineup, good for the defense. But all in all, you know, it is going to create a bit of a conversation to be had about where to put Whit Merrifield. I mentioned him a second ago. Whit Merrifield, of course, has been playing second base while Ozzie Albies has been injured. Of course, Whit Merrifield has had his own injury battles, but here they are, and we always talked about what's going to happen once Whit Merrifield, once Ozzie Albies comes back, what's going to happen with Whit Merrifield. I think the assumption, and I had the same assumption, was that, well, we're going to put Whit Merrifield at third base, we'll have Ozzie at second, all things are good. But it becomes a little bit more complicated because Gio Urshela, just like Whit Merrifield, we bring him in, he starts playing every day, and he's been really good. His bat, a little quiet, but his glove has been, without a doubt, as advertised and much appreciated, right? So you don't want to remove the glove from third base entirely. I think what you're going to see is Whit Merrifield be who Whit Merrifield is, and that is a versatile player who can play pretty much anywhere. He can play the outfield, he can play the infield, he can play left side, right side, really doesn't matter. So I think you may see him become a super utility top player, similar to like Chris Taylor was with the Dodgers back in 21, where he can be put anywhere at a moment's notice. As long as he's every day in the lineup, I don't really care, because that was the key to his success this year. He was with the Phillies. It did not go particularly well. His average was down. His numbers as a whole were down. But you put him on the Braves, you make him play every day, and all of a sudden his offense is up. And he turns into 5-hit Whit, right, as opposed to 2-hit Whit. And he's been really good for the team. He's really been a clubhouse leader, which I think none of us really expected. You can tell that he wants to play in Atlanta. He said as much on a podcast earlier in the year. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Snit, was asked about it and basically said we're going to have to figure out where we're going to put him. I think you could see him spend time in left field. I think you could see him spend time at third base. Maybe if somebody needs an off day, he can play the other two outfield positions. If Ozzie Albies needs an off day with coming off of injury, there is, reason to believe that he could still play second, maybe even short if needed. So there's a lot of ways this could go, but having him around has been a great addition, all things considered, with what's happened here in Atlanta with the injuries and, of course, specifically with Ozzie Albies. But Whit Merrifield, I think, is going to find a way to be in the lineup every single day, regardless where he plays. And I don't think the addition of Ozzie Albies is going to remove Whit Merrifield, but I do think it is going to, once again, change the dynamic for this team, which has changed so many times so far in 2024. So Again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the versatility of Whit Merrifield defensively. But one thing's for sure, he will be in the lineup every day, in my opinion. Now, remember, again, Whit Merrifield's success, he said this in interviews before, his success comes from playing every day. And that's, not every player's like that, but a lot of players are. If you don't play them every day, they're going to decline in production. It just is what it is. I would argue that probably most of us, if you remove us from a situation where you have to continue to be, consistent, but you take away the consistent at bats, it's going to be difficult to play at a high level. Whit Merrifield is that type of player, and I think the Braves are going to do everything in their power to, at minimum, give him at bats every day. Right, because it may be the fact that he's pinch hitting, but he will be at the plate, I think, at least once every game. I cannot see him turning into a situation where Adam Duvall, for example, where he was coming in, he may or may not play every day, he may or may not hit every day. I don't see Whit Merrifield doing that, and if he does, I don't see him being successful there. So I think the Braves are going to do everything in their power to make sure that he is indeed successful there. Now, guys, once again, we are here live at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC's showroom in Opelika, Alabama. If you need a vehicle, this is the place to go, whether it be for the price, whether it be for the hospitality, this is the place for you. Obviously, Chevrolets, GMCs, we run the ads all the time, but they have been such a great partner for us here at Braves on Deck, and we would not be able to do this near as successfully without their support. So if nothing else, give them a look purely because I'm asking you to. But again, here live at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika. If you're in the neighborhood, we're going to be here for a little while, so you might as well stop by. But once again, please go check them out. And if you're in the market for a vehicle, there is no better place than Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC offers popular full-size trucks with a legacy of strength and durability. Side by side, the new Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or big, heavy-duty Chevy and GMC 2500s, discounted up to $8,000 off. Rugged durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect truck today at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. Again, here live at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika. Happy to be here with you guys. We have one more thing to talk about before we open it up to comments. But remember, if you do Super Chat, you do get priority. That's how it works, right? If you Super Chat, we're going to read your comment off first in the next block. But before we talk about that, let's talk about this. I know everybody's kind of tired of 2024, right? The ups and downs, the just tumultuous injuries, everything in between. I know it's been a rough watch so far in 2024. I do my best to put a positive spin on it, but let's go ahead and fast forward past it, and let's go ahead and take a look at 2025. I have seen so much chatter over the past couple of weeks, probably because a lot of you are ready to go ahead and move on to 2025. Let's go ahead and put ourselves there. Let's put our minds there and figure out what this team is going to be going forward. 2024, maybe it's a wash, maybe it's not, but let's talk about 2025. And I've seen a lot of folks talk about additions to be made, whether it be free agent signings, whether it be trades. I've seen a lot of conversations being had about 2025. We spoke earlier, I guess last week, about Orlando Arcia and his future, and a lot of folks wanting Willy Adames. I told you why I didn't think that was a good idea. I told you why I didn't think the Braves are going to do it, and I still hold that value. But I have seen more articles, more comments, more everything of just other people that you guys want the Braves to go get. And that gives me to this point. There's been a lot of speculation about what the Braves starting pitching will be. Some on my end. I have thrown out the idea that, hey, look, at the trade deadline, I wanted the Braves to go get a starting pitcher because I thought that with both Charlie Morton and Max Fried hitting free agency, one of which could retire, one of which could go get big bucks on the West Coast, I thought the Braves could go ahead and lock up a starting pitcher that way come the offseason. you're only down 1 as opposed to 2. Now, things have shifted since then. Spencer Schwellenbach has came into the fold and performed at an excellent level. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect, nobody could have expected that. And to be honest with you, as much as it's happened, it's not necessarily a guarantee that it's going to continue. We've seen that happen before with Bryce Elder, for example, right? Sometimes you have that one season. It's not a guarantee that Reynaldo Lopez is going to be able to match what he did this year, next year as well. So there is still some concern there. However, let's talk about what we know is coming back, right? Because you're going to have Spencer Strider. You're going to have probably coming off of a Cy Young Award, Chris Sale. You're going to have Reynaldo Lopez, and you're going to have Spencer Schwellenbach. With those 4 in mind, that does leave one guaranteed line there, one guaranteed hole in the rotation if you don't sign Max Fried. Now, there is still the potential that the Braves lock it up and they get him back in Atlanta, and this is a moot point come next year. That said, right now, it's a talking point, and a good one. So I've seen the chatter, and there's been speculation. There's a lot of free agents available next year. Not all that you would necessarily want. I'm looking at you, Patrick Corbin. They are available, but they're not necessarily in the price range, and they're not necessarily the target pick that, again, you would want, right? Some that come to mind, Justin Verlander is available next year. Max Scherzer is available next year. Now, if you want to risk it, it is only the 5th starter spot, but you'd have to replace the production of a Max Fried, which I don't know that at this day and time, the 41, 42-year-olds in Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer can necessarily do that. I know they're going to want another shot, but I don't know that they can necessarily do that. So where does that leave us? Well, there's one guy that I've seen some chatter about. This is who we're going to talk about, and that's Nathan Eovaldi. We've talked about him before. We've talked about him at trade deadlines, whether it be this year, whether it be last year. We've talked about him at all kinds of different crossroads over the years. Nathan Eovaldi, of course, has had great postseason moments with the Rangers, with, I believe, the Red Sox. He's had a lot of great moments. But could he do that in an Atlanta Braves uniform? Well, so far this year, he's had a solid year. He's 11-8 on the year with a 3.67 ERA, 150 strikeouts. He's been good. I don't know that he's been as good as what his price will demand. And he's not a free agent necessarily. He could opt out of his current deal. He's got a vesting option, which means, yes, he can opt out. But if that happens, he's probably going to demand more money than what he is currently making on that deal, which right now he is making $17 million average annual value, right? And if he's going to get out of that deal, he's going to expect more from wherever he goes. So just keep that in mind. He's making 17. If you could get him at 17, that's not a bad deal. But if you can't get him at 17 and you're looking at $26 million a year, which is 52 across 2 years, which is what Spot Track has Nathan Eovaldi at right now. That's the estimation for his next contract if he is to opt out here, is $52 million across 2 years. I don't know if that's within the Braves' price range, and I don't know if that's where they're going to want to go. Right? Nathan Eovaldi, great pitcher, has had great moments as a starting pitcher in the playoffs, in the regular season even as well, has had a great career. But he's 34 years old. I don't know if the Braves are going to want to necessarily risk that. You add on the fact that you signed Chris Sale last year, or coming into this year, and he's only making $19 a year. So I just don't know that that's where Atlanta really wants to go, because why would you pay Nathan Eovaldi more than Chris Sale, who's coming off a Cy Young Award? And you could say, well, Tyler, you can't assume that Nathan Eovaldi is going to demand more money, but I think we can. I think anybody that's coming off a deal, coming off and getting off their deal is going to want more money than what they're making. And I mean, look, if you get Nathan Eovaldi for 19 a year, it's not the worst deal in the world. I just don't know if that's where the Braves, again, want to go. So what are the other options, right? Nathan Eovaldi's out there. I mentioned Justin Verlander. I mentioned Max Scherzer. Jack Flaherty is a free agent. He's done really well since going to L.A., but one would assume that L.A. may want to re-sign him, and if the Braves and Dodgers get in a bidding war, the Braves are not going to win that. Another guy that's out there that could be a free agent is Corbin Burns. Now, there's no reason to think that he wouldn't want to re-sign with Baltimore, but, that said, he's still a free agent. There is a list out there. I'm not going to go through everybody, but Shane Bieber is out there. There's Luis Severino. There's guys out there that I think Alex Anthopoulos is going to try to do something under the radar. And what's more under the radar than looking internally? I know what you're thinking, Tyler, let's not do this. We have to. We have to talk about the internal options because think about it. That's how we got Spencer Schwellenbach. We got him through looking internally. We didn't go sign Spencer Schwellenbach, and look what kind of performance he's given the Braves in 2024. So really, when you look at what the Braves have internally, they don't have bad options. I know everybody talks about our farm system right now being depleted in large part because we called all those guys up, but there's still some diamonds in the rough, and I don't want to just overlook those. A.J. Smith-Shawver is a guy who we've kind of forgotten about. I try to talk about him as much as I can when I can, but he's a guy who we called up last season at the tail end who pitched very well when called upon, short stints, and you could tell that the potential was there. He hadn't turned into a pitcher yet, but he had been very good when called upon, and he's got good stuff. I thought out of everybody in the minors, he had the best stuff. We called him up once this year. He had a good outing. He left hurt, and we never gave him another shot. And, that's how this game is sometimes. But I still think A.J. Smith-Shawver could be a potential fit for that fifth spot. I also think Ian Anderson is a guy that we tend to just forget about because he got hurt and he's been gone for a year plus, and all of a sudden he's gone. But he's been making waves in the minors this season. He's a guy that, he's not going to make an impact this year, I don't think. But come 2025, that potential is there. So we'll see what happens there. But, one other guy that we need to mention is who I thought the Braves were going to call up before Schwellenbach, and that's Hurston Waldrop. He got hurt this year. I think we would have seen him by the end of this year if that didn't happen. But I do think the internal options are there, and they are a viable option if the Braves are not to re-sign Max Fried. Now, I think I say this for everybody when I say I hope they do sign Max Fried because of what he has meant to the organization, because of what he has done in a Braves uniform. We've lost a lot of guys over the past few years. Freddie Freeman, we just saw playing against Atlanta. He hurt us a little bit. We've seen Dansby leave. I would like nothing more than to see the Braves commit to a guy who has committed to them over the past decade. And Max Fried has certainly been a guy who we have raised up from the ground up, and I would love to see him finish his career in a Braves uniform. Now, that said, it's not a guarantee. It's far from it, even, because at this point, like Chipper Jones so eloquently said a few years ago, once you get to free agency, you open the door to all the pretty girls, as he put it, all of the other organizations that are going to try to flirt with you and get you to their organization, whether it be with money, whether it be with sponsorships, whatever it may be with, whether it be the bright lights of L.A., whether it be your hometown even. There's a lot of reasons for Fried to leave at this point. So could it happen? Sure. I mean, he's far from the only pitcher to hit free agency and not re-sign, but he'd also be not the first to hit free agency and still re-sign. So things can happen, things can shake up. I'm curious to see what happens, but all in all, this is not over. This is a talking point that we're going to hit multiple times. We talked about it before this. We're going to talk about it probably 10, 20 times after this because winter meetings is going to happen. It's going to be a talking point there if he's not already locked up. It's going to be a talking point pretty much, I think, until he signs elsewhere. And even then, we're going to get on here and talk about it. So there's a lot of time left, and I think the Braves are going to have to, at some point, make a decision. And I think even, you could say that the front office is already kind of dialing up, all right, what do we want to do here, right? And it may be that, hey, why not, and I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but why not throw Charlie Morton a bone and say, hey, man, we're going to give you one more chance at winning a World Series here in Atlanta, but we want to pay you half of what we're paying you right now, which right now Charlie Morton is signed to a $20 million deal. To his detriment almost, because every time he has a bad start, they bring up the fact that we pay him $20 million. But I don't see anything wrong with offering him $10 million if he can still do what he has done this year. Because Charlie Morton, he's not our best pitcher, not at all. But he is a veteran. He's a guy who can lock in when needed, and he's a guy who can give you innings. And if you can save a little cash by paying a 41-year-old to come out and give you solid innings throughout the regular season and be dependable in the playoffs, I don't have a problem with it. And again, I wouldn't pay him another $20 million, but if you want to pay him 10, if you want to pay him 7, 8, I'm okay with that. So we'll see what happens, but Max Fried, in my opinion, if I was a betting man, which I am not, but if I was, I would say that Max Fried is probably not going to come back to the Braves. That's what I think most people are even assuming. I think it's not a guarantee, but that's where most people are landing on it, is Max Fried and his time in Atlanta is probably done come the end of this year. That said, we never know what's going on behind closed doors. We will see what happens. But, you know, we've seen so many others leave. We've seen some stay, but we've seen so many of the staples leave that nothing would surprise us, I think, at this point. That said, you know, a lot of folks that are pitching, hey, we got to re-sign Max Fried. We got to. Just remember, at some point, you're going to have to re-sign Acuna. You're going to have to re-sign Ozzie Albies if you want to. Those contracts are going to come up. The Braves have been able to sign Austin Riley long-term. They've been able to sign Matt Olson long-term, Michael Harris long-term. But that said, you know, you look at where we are right now. Is Max Fried the guy that you want to bet on? To some, he may be. To some, he may not be. Some people are already counting him out. I am not ready to do that just yet, but I definitely think that we're a little bit more jaded now after seeing both Freddie and Dansby leave, that we kind of just assume that Max Fried's going to go out west or go to another club and make bigger bucks, and that's how it's going to be. But we never know what negotiations are like behind closed doors. What we do know is that the team, nor Fried, wants to speak on it till after the year is over. So until then, we really don't know anything, and we won't. But we'll, of course, keep our eyes on it and hope for the best. Obviously, again, in an ideal situation, you have Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, Max Fried, top your rotation, Reynaldo Lopez, and Spencer Schwellenbach ready to go for next year. That's in an ideal situation. In a not-so-ideal situation, you have Spencer Strider, you have Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Spencer Schwellenbach, and then you're looking for that fifth guy either internally or externally. We will see what happens. But until then, all we can do is hope for the best. That said, guys, please do me a favor if you have not already. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, again, if you have not already. It really helps us grow the channel, helps us get it out there, helps us have better conversations here in the chat, which is what we're getting ready to do right now. But also, just one more reminder, we are here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC showroom. We are happy to be here. They have been such a great sponsor to us. You can check them out at www.glynsmith.com. You can find you a new vehicle. You can get an idea of what vehicles cost, and I promise you, you will find great prices there, as well as just good folks that want to make sure you find the right vehicle for you. Now, that said, guys, when we get back, we're going to get into what you guys want to talk about in the comments section. So get your comments in, super chat if you can. Really do appreciate those. And remember, if you do super chat, you'll be moved to the front of the line.
Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC presents a fantastic lineup of popular full-size SUVs and mid-size trucks. Compare side by side. Take your choice from new Chevrolet Tahoes and GMC Yukons, discounted up to $7,000 off. Or Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyons, discounted up to $5,000 off. Experience unmatched durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect vehicle today at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC offers popular full-size trucks with a legacy of strength and durability. Side by side, the new Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra 1500s, discounted up to $13,000 off. Or big, heavy-duty Chevy and GMC 2500s, discounted up to $8,000 off. Rugged durability, powerful engines, and advanced technology. Choose your perfect truck today at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
All right, everybody, thank you for being here again. Really do appreciate it. Just a reminder once again to like the video if you have not already, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and of course hit the bell for notifications. That way you know when we go live, when we drop new content, and just whatever we're doing, and of course whatever is going on with the Atlanta Braves, of course all across Major League Baseball. Now let's get into your comments real quick. I want to start with one Ron. He says, I'm just glad to be above ground and watching some Braves baseball until we are mathematically eliminated. I'm all in like I have been since 1989 when I was 7 years old watching on TBS. Go Braves. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I know it feels like the Braves just have been dead in the water for a long time, but this team has had its ups just as much as it's had its downs. It's been able to stay in the fight throughout all of what they've gone through. So all in all, I mean, it could be much worse. You know, you could be the Chicago White Sox. I say that, you know, till I'm blue in the face. You could be the Miami Marlins. who have no chance at a playoff run. You could be one of those teams that just, has no chance and knew they didn't have a chance pretty much on opening day. You could be one of those. I would much rather be the Braves who, we expected to, be in the playoffs, guaranteed, win the division, and run away with it and, maybe make a run towards the World Series, which I think are still in the cards in terms of a World Series. In this day and age, a World Series can happen in many different ways and forms. So that's still in the cards. But this has certainly not been the year that the Braves expected it to be. That said, again, with all of what they've dealt with, I would challenge any other team to just have the injuries alone and try to navigate through that. I don't think anybody would be able to and have 100 wins for sure like we did in 2023. Scooter Puff says, predicted a split going in, and that's what we got. It's going to come down to the head-to-head with the Mets in all likelihood. It very well may. I almost hope so because we do pretty well in head-to-head games against the Mets, and I know if this year's going to be good for anything, it'll be having a Frank the Tank video reacting to that and probably blowing up. That would be my ideal situation. Matthew says, hey, everybody, please hit the like and the bell. Thank you. Yeah, listen to him. Hit the like button. Hit the bell. That way you can, of course, keep up with everything we got going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves. Richard Davis says, it is setting up perfectly. Tuesday Game 1 will be Sale and Spencer and Fried, all with extra rest. That is the ideal situation. Daniel Berry says, yo, what's up, man? Jameson Taylor says, hello. Brandon Edwards says, next weekend is likely going to be the deciding factor if they get into the playoffs. I think so, too. I think really these next 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, is going to be the deciding factor because, like Snit said a few weeks ago, these games against the Phillies count, the games against the Mets count, but really every game counts. A win is a win, and they all add up. It's not just the head-to-head. The head-to-heads are definitely important. They're the ones that I go circling on the calendar at the beginning of the year. We got to focus on this series. But really, they all add up. And luckily for the Braves, they have kind of a lackluster schedule. They have Cincinnati, then they got Miami. That said, it hasn't really mattered who the Braves have faced this year. It's whether or not they're hot or not. And right now, I think that they kind of aren't. They were at the start of that Dodger series, and it just sort of fell off. Ideally, you're hot walking into that series against the Mets, then you get 3 games the other way, and you knock them out of playoff contention for the most part. But we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. One Ron says, I really think all these injuries have had some sort of mental deficit on the players. Of course it has. And yet we are still contending. Baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical. Still can be done. Well, I mean, you said it, right? Like, it's got to have – obviously it has a physical effect on the players that are hurt. It has a physical effect on the lineup. It has a physical effect on the defense, all that stuff. But it also has a mental effect. And whether that be, clubhouse culture, which I think Ozzie is going to improve, whether that be, just the disbelief of whether or not the Braves are going to be able to make a run within the clubhouse, you let that creep in, and it does have an effect, but it also has an effect on players at the plate maybe trying to do too much, players on the mound maybe trying to do too much, and that has an effect. And you try to carry the team on your back, and it doesn't happen naturally, and all of a sudden you find yourself struggling too. So there's a million different just little effects that it has, and it causes a downward spiral. And hopefully it's a 2024 issue, and it stays a 2024 issue. Scooter Puff says Chris Sale has got the Cy Young locked up unless he has a complete meltdown in his last couple of starts. I think he's going to pretty much walk away with it, like you said. I mean, depending on a major meltdown, I think he's going to be just fine. And really, his ERA, in large part, it's a factor, but you also got to consider who's been playing outfield for him. I like Jorge Soler as much as the next guy, but there's been a few runs and some Chris Sale starts that I'm like, ugh, I hope that doesn't hurt his Cy Young Award chances, right? That was, months ago now. But I think he's going to walk away with it. And he should. He's been by far the best pitcher in the league. His last couple of starts could dictate whether or not it actually happens. But I think for Chris Sale, as much as the award would mean a lot to him, I think the fact that he's had a consistent year like this is going to make waves not only for his own mental state, but also his Hall of Fame case. I think a Cy Young Award would definitely help his Hall of Fame case. And you got to think, at this point in his career, he's definitely thinking about that Cy Young Award, that Hall of Fame plaque. And, it's not everything. You want to win a World Series. I think the Braves definitely had a chance to do that, especially when you see how Chris Sale's year has turned out, when you see how Marcell Ozuna's year has turned out. If you had had a year with a healthy Acuna, a healthy Austin Riley, a healthy Ozzie Albies, a healthy Spencer Strider, I mean, the script writes itself. But all of a sudden, all those guys go down, and we are where we are. So I think it says a lot about this team that we are still in contention. And I've said that through the ups and the downs. I've gotten flack for it, coming to Snit's defense left and right. But nobody could have managed what this team has gone through and been as successful as they were in 2023. And the people out there, and some of you may be watching, I don't know, but there were people out there at one point that were saying, well, forget the injuries. Like, the team should just be playing good anyway. And those are the kinds of folks that I'm like, you got to take a step back, right? Because that'd be like saying, hey, I know you just paid your rent and you just paid your car note, but hey, I want you to go buy me a brand new pool or PS5 or whatever, right? And you have not enough money in your account, but hey, just figure out, buy it. That's what that's like. And if you don't have the resources at your disposal, you're not going to be able to navigate it. It just is what it is. And I think anybody with common sense or is willing to be realistic knows that. But I don't mind being the guy that takes the flack for defending Snit. I don't mind that. Let's see. Brett Walters says, do you think the Braves need a change of philosophy of hitting? Looks like they haven't made any adjustment all year. Injuries being an issue, but I do think they need a new hitting coach. Here's the thing, right? And that kind of goes to what I was just talking about. A lot of folks want to criticize the hitting. A lot of folks want to even criticize the pitching. You brought up a new pitching coach. Guys, Rick Kranitz hasn't really been around due to a health concern in the family, and the pitching has been lights out. It's not always the coaching. And really, if we're blaming coaches here, you also got to give credit where it's due and say Kevin Seitzer is the guy for 2023, right? Everything that the Braves did in 2023 falls on his shoulders and his shoulders alone. And I think we all know that a lot of that falls on the players in a good way. In 2024, I would argue that a lot of it falls on the players. But which players? The ones that are here or the ones that aren't here? And so you have to navigate that. In terms of an adjustment, I do think you've seen adjustments. I think Olsen has adjusted. He started to heat up, and of course it's now petered out a little bit. But he's been making adjustments. I've heard in the clubhouse about the adjustments, so I definitely think they have. But also they've had to make adjustments in the dynamic of their offense because you don't have Acuna leading it off anymore. You don't have the pressure of him on first base anymore for 50% of the at-bats, right? So you have that dynamic that's gone. And I know that may sound small, but when you remove the 4 or 5 members of the offense and you plug in, all due respect to all of these guys, but Whit Merrifield, Gio Urshela, so on and so on, Jared Kelenic, all these lower-level guys, and you don't have your MVP, you don't have Austin Riley, who's making, the most money of any offensive player on the team. When you don't have those guys, all of a sudden, it's going to be difficult for you to navigate that just from a lineup perspective. That's for the manager, for the hitting coach, for the players that now don't have protection behind them. So now they're getting much more off-speed, low and aways than they used to. They used to see fastballs. That's specific to Orlando Arcia, who had Ronald Acuna batting behind him, so naturally he's going to be more successful. When you change those dynamics, and if one injury happens, let's say it's Acuna, you can kind of navigate. You can plug and play where you need to do. 2021 is a perfect example. But when you have 6 or when you have even 4 or 5, that's half your lineup now, which is different than what you expected it to be. And you're using again, with all due respect to all the players we have, a replacement level player when at one point you had an MVP. And it makes a difference. I think everybody wanted more to happen at the trade deadline. I wanted more to happen at the trade deadline, but it wasn't able to be done, and probably because the Braves don't have a lot of prospect capital, but hard to blame the front office for that because all their prospect capital is in the big leagues, and half of them are hurt. So it's a situation that I hope shifts and changes next year. But in terms of, I think we need a new hitting coach, I don't. I think Kevin Seitzer's done a great job. I think he's had to navigate just as many problems as Brian Snitker has. I think, he's doing with what he has. And, again, didn't they score 10 runs against the Dodgers the other night? 6 runs against them in Game 2. So, I mean, even 4 runs last night. Like, the offense has been there here lately. But you've kind of seen them finally get to some kind of consistency, right? And even when they got a consistent lineup, it changed every day. We were trying to navigate, all right, what's the best way for this to form? And I don't know if it's fair to necessarily blame the hitting coach. And I don't know that there is a scapegoat this year, right? Because everybody wants to blame somebody. For you, Brett, it's Kevin Seitzer. For somebody, it's Rick Kranitz. For a lot of folks, it's Brian Snitker. And all Brian Snitker does is make the lineup, So it's tough to really find who's at fault per se. And if I thought somebody was, I would tell you. But I don't think in this situation anybody really is. I don't think you can blame the front office because I think if you look at the opening day roster, you'll see a World Series contending team. And the fact that that team's not here is not because they traded them away. It's because they got hurt. And nobody can really be blamed for that, So it just kind of is what it is. Matthew says, Tyler, I just want to let you know that CeeLo went to Curacao and put up a video of him going to Albies' childhood home. I think that's worth mentioning since we're talking about Ozzie. CeeLo did not tell me he was going to Curacao. That's pretty cool. I've never been to Curacao. But I do know that, of course, we have a lot of great baseball players that have come from Curacao, Ozzie being one of them, of course, Andrew Jones, Kenley Jansen's another one. Just a ton of guys who have been really impactful in the game. I mean, Kenley Jansen's one of the best relievers ever, at least according to stats. Andrew Jones is, without a doubt, one of the best center fielders ever. Ozzie Albies is one of the top second basemen in the game right now, even if, the rankings don't say so, I will. Curacao has really grown. I actually talked to Andrew a few years ago about it and how much, impact he had on starting baseball camps, on getting kids from that island a chance to get to the big leagues. And that didn't really exist before Andrew. He's done a really good job at navigating that, and credit to CeeLo for getting out of Curacao and throwing in a baseball aspect into it as well. Abel Wall says, is Chris Sale or Tarek Skubal the best pitcher of the year? I think it's Chris Sale. I think the fact that, the year he's had, he's been dominant. He's been really, really good. And he's always been good, but he's battled injuries, and here you are, you're back, and he's on a new team, and he did not skip a beat. I mean, he was the guy this year. Skubal's been great. I think he's definitely a candidate for Rookie of the Year. I don't think he's better than Chris Sale, but he's in the American League, so it is what it is. I don't know who will win the Cy Young in the American League. I hadn't really thought about that. Matthew says, Tyler, do you think that the Braves will break the attendance record? Hang on, I lost it. Yep. I lost it completely. All right. Do you think the Braves will break the single-game attendance record next season when they play the Reds at Bristol? The record is 115,000. Bristol has a capacity of 150,000 fans for NASCAR. I don't know, but I hope I'm one of them. I am trying to go to that for work. I'm trying to get credentialed to that. I think it'll be a great atmosphere. I think it'll be really cool. I think it's going to be really hard to see the baseball field from as high up as a NASCAR stadium goes. But no, I think there's definitely a good chance for it for sure. But we'll see what happens. Miguel says, the Braves are done for 2024. Here we go, Miguel. We're going back and forth on this one, aren't we? The last 2 games for the Braves were horrendous. It's hard to watch. I don't doubt that. Yeah, I know it was hard to watch. I flipped it off after about the 6th inning last night. But yeah, I mean, I know that's kind of where, our minds are going to go. Here, like this right here. Alex Anthopoulos traded Contreras. Recently, he's ranked #1 catcher in the league, according to MLB. Not every trade you make is going to be great. I think Sean Murphy's still a great addition. Did we win the trade? Did we lose the trade? You know, we'll see. You know, Sean Murphy hasn't really been what we hoped he would be. Contreras has really lit the world on fire. I liked Contreras a lot when we had him. But, you know, it is what it is. Things happen. It wasn't a great move. I don't think you can equate that move to the Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, right? Freddie Freeman, there was no guarantee if Freeman was going to come back. So the Braves, in their minds, had to make a move. And they made a move for Matt Olson, who I think has been really good. You can look at this year and pick it apart if you want. But last year, the 54 homers, you can't deny that. He's fit into Atlanta really well. And he signed a long-term, very non-expensive deal. So nothing wrong with that move, in my opinion, at all. Sean Murphy, my defense to that would be, you're not paying him very much, and he is a really good player, whether we want to admit it or not. Contreras, really good player. I thought at the time was really going to be with the Braves for a long time. I thought he was the guy that they were going to keep. And it was going to be between him and Langoliers, you know, or them two were going to be, you know, the next generation of Braves catchers. But then you had a crowded room. You know, you had of course Contreras, you had Langoliers, you had d'Arnaud. You didn't really know where you wanted to go there. But I would have been okay with a transitional period between d'Arnaud and Langoliers. I would have thought that would have been really good. Langoliers has been really good with the A's. So you're going to lose some talent. I hate that we lost him, but at the same time, I wouldn't not want to do the Matt Olson deal. I think that was probably the right decision. Even, you know, obviously it stunk to lose Freeman, no doubt about that. But at the same time, there's no guarantee that he was going to come back. So it's tough. You hope that obviously deals like that go the Braves' way. They don't always. I think at this point I would say that Contreras was a loss. But at the same time, the Braves jumped on a deal. They wanted Sean Murphy. They got Sean Murphy. And, you know, it is what it is. Matthew says, Tyler, I agree that Eovaldi would be a great pickup. He's on my fantasy team. In the league I play against Vince Russo from wrestling. My team is in first place, and Eovaldi has been great. You play against Vince Russo, bro? I'll wait on you to get that one. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, Eovaldi's been great. He's probably been dependable in a fantasy league. I can see that. Scooter Puff says, considering everything that has went wrong with this year in both terms of injuries and sheer bad luck, this is about the best result we could have hoped for. Yeah, I mean, you could have easily seen the team fall apart, right? I mean, the fact that we're even still in contention is a huge deal. Matthew says, Tyler, I was a big fan of Vaughn Grissom as anybody, but at this point I would say the Grissom for sale trade was extremely lopsided in our favor. Cy Young pitchers usually cost a lot more than that. I told you at the time, didn't I? You know, I liked the deal. I knew Vaughn Grissom was our best trade piece. I knew he was going to be gone because they had already locked up Orlando for like a 3-year deal. So I knew he was going to be gone. There was just no place for him, and I knew he wanted to stay, but I just knew that the way the team was shaking out, he was the next piece to move. He just was. And I liked him as much as anybody. You know, I remember his first homer, like it was yesterday at Fenway Park. So trading him to Boston felt right. And we got a guy in Chris Sale who we thought was going to be a guy who maybe was the 4th best pitcher, the 5th best pitcher on the team at the time, because we had Sale, Morton, and Fried, who, you know, have had really good years prior to that. All of a sudden he comes in, he's a Cy Young Award winner, or should be, right? So, yeah, I would say that the trade is lopsided, but that's what I'm saying. So as much as we want to kick Alex Anthopoulos for making a deal for Murphy to get, you know, and got rid of Contreras, I would say, well, you can say that, but look at the Chris Sale deal, right? Look at the deals back in 21 that ultimately won the World Series. If I ever meet Alex Anthopoulos, I'd have him sign something, Alex Anthopoulos World Series MVP, because that dude put together that team from the ground up. I mean, you know, you had your staples, but he went and got Eddie Rosario. He went and got Freddie Freeman. He went and got the bullpen that became the night shift, right? Those were his guys, and they won a World Series. Now, that ain't purely because he is a mastermind, but he knows more than we do. That's for sure. You know, so I find myself hesitant to question him. Now, nobody's perfect. We can all question, like, oh, yeah, that deal didn't work out. But at the greater context, as a whole, how has Alex Anthopoulos done? I would grade him an A-. You know, I mean, maybe the plus there, you know, for the Contreras deal if you want to. But I definitely think he's top tier for sure in terms of general managers. Let's see. A lot of folks in here. Well, you know, when you go on the road, guys, what can you expect? Issues are going to happen, but we're back. Happy to be here. It is what it is, and let's move on. All right, so let's see. All right, Corey Carter says, I think the Sean Murphy trade was an attempt at being proactive by AA. I think AA looked at the changes in the pickoff and larger bases. Absolutely agree with that completely. Let's see. All right, I think that's pretty much all the comments. But, yeah, wanted to get back on here. Obviously, I know we had some technical difficulties there. Can't control those kind of things when you go on the road like this. I think when you hit an hour, it kind of just automatically shuts off. It's weird, but, you know, we navigated through it. We're back. If you got any other comments, get them in because we are going to wrap it up here shortly. Just one more time, we are here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC in Opelika, Alabama. If you want to check those guys out, if you want to buy a new vehicle, I promise it's the best place. People travel this country far and wide to get vehicles here at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC. You can check them out at www.glennsmith.com. But again, they are so supportive of the channel here, as you guys are as well. If you're out there and you have not already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. I think that's going to wrap up the comment section, guys. Really do appreciate you being here. We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. Again, thank you for navigating through the technical difficulties. We appreciate that. Sorry for those. We'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again when we come out here. But again, thank you to Glynn Smith. Thank you to you guys for watching. And again, if you have not already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. With that out of the way, guys, we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.
All right. You brought me back, Corey. You brought me back. Let's talk about the Falcons. So a lot of folks went into yesterday thinking that the Falcons weren't going to win. And you guys know where I stand on the Falcons. I'm not, like, the biggest fan. They're definitely, I mean, they're my team, but they've been hard to watch for so long. And with my job being a sportscaster, I have to read the highlights pretty much win or lose. I don't always post them, obviously. But last night, of course, you know, we're in the game. You feel like the Falcons can win the game. And Kirk Cousins, in the last, I guess, minute 40, just marches down the field. And I haven't seen that in a long time. That was nice to see. He passes it to Drake London in the corner. Falcons lead. And you just, as an Atlanta fan, you can't help but feel like this is going to go wrong, right? You can't wait. You just can't knock the feeling of, man, how are they going to Falcon this one? And all of a sudden, they didn't. They didn't. They won the game. What was it? Like 22-21, something like that. You know, if you missed the highlights, they're actually on my Facebook if you want to go look at them. But, oh, my good Lord. Just happy they won. So the Falcons are now 1-1. They beat the Eagles. And if the Braves don't beat the Phillies in the division, at least we beat them on the gridiron. That's all I can say. All right. That's going to officially end the stream. Corey, thank you for that. I would not have come on here for just about anything else. But thank you for that. Bruh, yes, I guess I should say it one more time. I am at a car dealership. I am at Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC, big sponsors of the channel. Happy that we'll be here. Of course, happy with all the support they give us. They are a huge a huge supporter of Braves on Deck, as we hope you are too. So if you're out there and you have not already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. We're not going to do these shows all the time, but we do like to come live here about once a month if we can, and just give you an idea of the showroom. And look, you see that smile right there? That's what you could have if you come up to Glynn Smith Chevrolet-GMC, and you know you want to. With that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.